Bankford Off-Road Championship got underway with an expo in Queenstown in the Eastern Cape, which was well supported by crews en route to Tarka. The weather conditions were reminiscent of last year, when the area was subjected to torrential rain, hail and sleet, which made conditions most uncomfortable for the competitors. Highlights of the last-minute replacement for the cancelled Lichtenberg 400, and only 18 special and 26 production vehicles made the long trip to Tarka. It wasn't long before the heavens opened up and crews had to don rain gear and take cover, and then the hail pelted down. The Production Vehicle Championship has been delicately poised all season. With 2 events to go in the hotly contested championship, there were 4 crews in with a chance of winning the coveted title. Joint championship leaders Neil Woolridge and Kenny Schalthammer have 1 non-finish, 4 second places and a 3rd to their credit.
We've got quite a nice lead in our class T, which is very important to us as a manufacturer. And to win the overall championship is also important. Yeah, we tie with a Nissan at the moment.
Duncan Foss and Mike Griffith have notched up 3 class wins, a 2nd and a 3rd this season, but they blotted their copybook with a non-finish on the Caledon 400.
We're obviously hoping that for us to do well against the Ford, we need Janelle and Hannes to have 2 good results. So if they can maybe beat the Ford and take points away from him, and we can do well in our class, then we've really got a good chance of beating them.
The situation in the Special Vehicle Championship is much the same, with 4 teams in line to win the championship. Interestingly, 2 of the contenders come from Class B, which is for 2-litre powered cars. Queenstown pair Greg Harvey and Boy Stone has won 2 championships, but what about their hometown advantage?
I think it will work a little bit to my advantage, but still at the end of the day you've got to race, and there's lots of fast cars out there, so I'm sure it's not going to be a hang of an advantage. You know, we're all fairly competitive and race fairly same paces, so I don't know, you know, it's really what's going to happen on the day.
Greg Dowse dropped to 4th when the championship was re-scored after the Caledon 400, but has challenged the decision.
There's some controversy over the number of starters and some issues around minimum starters in the race, so we've taken a safe route and entered into Class A.
At the commission meeting, it was decided we would score as per the regulations in the book, which we've now done, which has resulted in some unhappiness, understandably, but that is the reason. It's been a correction in something that was done wrong.
Intermittent rain and hail resulted in the start of the 50-kilometre prologue being delayed for an hour, due to large sections of the route being impassable. John Weir-Smith and Jeff Minute surprised the favoured 4-wheel drive vehicles when they qualified fastest in the O'Hagan's Kopanong Hotel Gymco. Caledon 400 winners Hannes Grobler and Richard Leek had to be content with 2nd place in the factory Nissan hardbody and would start 28 seconds behind the flying Gymco. Reigning champions Chanel de Villiers and Francois Jordan powered their Nissan hardbody into 3rd spot and were just over 3 minutes slower than the leaders. Championship co-leaders Woolridge and Schalthammer were 4th fastest in the V8-powered Ford Racing Ranger, only 2 seconds behind de Villiers and Jordan. Toyota 1000 Desert Race winner Greg Dowse and Archie Rutherford were next up in the Nashua Mobile Race Co., which had been entered in Class A instead of Class S for this event. Husband and wife team Marius and Francis Boersma had a steady run in the Caltex Independent 4x4 Land Rover, but was soon to be passed by a Tangmacher Geneni and Alex Sally in the Sam Racing Gymco. The Botswana businessman qualified 6th. Multiple former champions Arpi Reiniger and Robin Harton posted the 7th fastest time in the Castrol Toyota Land Cruiser. Fastest of the Class D entries were Mark Corbett and Jean Moore in the Century Property Developments Isuzu. They qualified 8th, 38 seconds ahead of Foss and Griffiths in the Works Nissan hardbody. A good finish was crucial for the factory Nissan duo if they wanted to keep their championship hopes alive. Former quad racers Mark Breckel and Ian Kilburn rounded out the top 10 in the Brasco Refrigeration Gymco. Class E Championship contenders Hugo and Jaap de Bruin qualified 14th in the Toyota Hilux, 46 seconds ahead of rivals Manfred Schroeder and Jack Peckham in the Ford Ranger. Father and son, Bez and Dion Besaidnote, were the leading Class B qualifiers and would start 18th. Special vehicle driver Richard Carolyn made his debut as a production vehicle driver in the Class F two-wheel drive O'Hagan's Kopanong Hotel Super Team Jeep and qualified 21st, while rookie teammates Nick Gosler and Glenn Stain were the leading Class S qualifiers in the Porsche-powered O'Hagan's Kopanong Hotel Super Team Race Co. But there were problems for another Class S contender.
Went through the ditch a bit too fast and CV sheared off. So go it back now and fix it. Hopefully tomorrow start from behind and catch up. Yeah.
Time for the crews to relax after a tough prologue, while technicians got on with cleaning and preparing the vehicles for the next day's 405-kilometre haul. There were problems with Piet Haasbroek's Class D Castrol Toyota Land Cruiser.
Ons het weer 'n mis gehad, maar die mis het dan toe reggekom en het ons in 'n sementwal ingegly en die vere gebreek. Maar ek meen ons maak reg, ons het nie klaar gemaak nie. Ons sal môre seker heel agter begin, maar ek meen ek glo ons het 'n kans.
By contrast, the mood in the Super Team camp was quite upbeat.
To prevent it from sliding up. We came out with a completely different strategy today. We came out to come and win, instead of sitting back and trying to catch the rest of the pack and pacing ourselves during the race. So we're going to go like hell, and we're looking for a good result. We're sitting in fourth at the moment in class, and we're looking for a result. We're looking for possibly a second, and I think Greg's going to be in a bit of trouble.
Our strategy is to pull away first tomorrow. If anything happened to the front runners on the championship is basically still wide open. There's tomorrow, and then there's another race at the end of November, and we've still got a 50-50 chance to win the championship, and we're going to go for it.
The starting order for the Queen Motor Spares Tarka 400, a special vehicle on pole for the first time in many events, with production vehicles filling 6 of the top 10 places. With no threat of rain, conditions were expected to dry out fast, and dust would then become a factor when overtaking. Multi-car teams have developed strategies to protect their championship contenders.
Greg's already dropped his event, so it's quite critical that he finishes the next 2 events. And I think, just in all due respect, just on his pace alone, if he finishes, it should be enough to secure the championship.
Yesterday we had a great time trial. It was very muddy and we really enjoyed the mud. So we ended up 30 seconds in front of our nearest competitor, which is Duncan Voss. And there's still an outside chance for us on the championship, so we're going to really push hard today and hopefully convert it into a win.
Coming from behind 5 minutes is a little bit more than we'd have liked, but I think it's a rough route, a lot of dongers, unmarked ditches and things, so being first on the road can be a little bit of a handicap. We're obviously not going to have much dust today, so let's see how it goes from there.
I think the strategy will be the same as 2 years ago when we won. We take it easy, it's rough, it's long, and we see what happens, you know. Last time the front guys dropped out and we ended up with a win.
Ahead of the 44 starters lay 3 tough 135-kilometre loops, which comprised mountain passes and extremely rough sections, interspersed with flat-out high-speed sections. 8 o'clock, and the moment of truth finally arrived with Weir, Smith and Minute first away in the Jimco, followed 28 seconds later by Grobler and Leek in the Nissan hardbody. De Villiers and Jordan had over 3 minutes to make up on the leaders and had Woolridge and Scholthammer only 2 seconds behind them at the start. Relying on the Nissan's blindingly fast acceleration, De Villiers immediately opened up a gap on the Ford. It was a case of no quarter asked or given from the multiple Bankford touring car champion as he disappeared into the distance. Nashua Mobile racing pair Dowse and Rutherford were 5th early on in the race. Atangmacher Geneni and Alex Sally were 6th in the V6 powered Sam Racing Jimco, over 4 minutes behind race leaders Weir, Smith and Minute. Barbers Pond 500 winners Reyneke and Houghton have not had the best of seasons and have devoted much of their time to developing the new Castrol Toyota Land Cruiser to its full potential. Corbett and Moore won Class D on the Caledon 400 in the very quick Isuzu and were hoping for a repeat win. Behind them, Harvey and Stone and Breckler and Kilburn were battling it out for 9th place. Terence Marsh and Trevor Eyre had moved up a place in the Nashua Mobile Gymco and relegated Foss and Griffith to 12th on the road. At the front of the field, Weir Smith and Minute in the BMW 540 Power Gymco and Krobler and Leake in the Nissan Hardbody were locked in a no-holds-barred battle, with the two crews separated by mere seconds. De Villiers and Jordan were on a charge in the second factory-entered Class T Nissan Hardbody, but they too were locked in battle with Woolridge and Schalthammer in the Ford Racing Ranger. Sit back and enjoy the onboard action from the Nissan and the Ford. An hour into the race and the lead had changed. The Nissan was now ahead of the Gymco, but only just. Weir Smith had wrong slotted and Krobler nipped by into the lead. Corbett and Moore had matters well under control in Class D, but could not afford to relax their pace because Foss and Griffiths were still very much in the hunt. The De Bruyn father and son, who were 17th overall and 9th in the production vehicle category in the Toyota Hilux, held the Class E lead. Richard Carolyn and Scott Abram were the lone entry in Class F and were having a steady run in the O'Hagan's Coppenong Hotel Super Team Jeep and had made up 2 places. Special Vehicle Championship hopefuls Marcus Taylor and Marcus Shalane were 21st overall in the Truck Time JRE and well ahead of the rest of the Class B contenders. With Frickie Buerter not making the start, Nick Gosler and Glenn Stain only had to finish to win Class S, but this was not to be. They eventually retired with brake problems. After 90 minutes, Hannes Krobler and Richard Leake were in the lead in the Nissan Hardbody, but there was still the ever-present threat of Weir, Smith and Minute. The Super Team pair had dropped a few seconds on the Nissan, but were way ahead of their nearest rivals in the special vehicle category.